Hi everyone, I'm Candice with Eclectic Coach. I'm so excited to be doing this video for you right now. We're going to be talking about setting healthy boundaries. And we're going to talk about what they are, why they matter, how to do it in an effective way. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want to be updated when I make new content. And also, please note that I will list my coaching and that sort of stuff in the description box, but I will never solicit you for any services or readings or anything like that. Everything that I'm involved in that you can check out will be in the description box. So let's get into it. Setting healthy boundaries. Admittedly, this is something I have struggled with throughout my life, being an empath. My particular personality type as an INFJ really lends itself to some struggle here. The way I was raised, being a female, lots of different things. But this can happen across different genders, all different backgrounds. Really, anybody at any time could possibly struggle with boundaries. But let's talk about what setting boundaries means, or what I mean about what it means to set healthy boundaries in this video. So a healthy boundary signifies this is where I begin and this other person ends. So there can be a lot of conflating one person's emotions with another person's emotions. When you're an empath, it's kind of hard sometimes to tell, like, is this a me thing? Is this a you thing? Is it appropriate for me to be doing this? Am I doing too much? Do I need to pull back? Is this my responsibility? Is this within my right? All of those things need to be addressed. So it shows where you begin and the other person ends. Now, admittedly, I believe in non-dualism, but in practical everyday reality, while it is true other people are mirroring back to us what's going on for us internally, sometimes what's going on for us internally is we don't know where we begin and where we end. And we are having a hard time sifting out our emotions from the emotions of other people. It shows us what's ours and what's theirs, energetically speaking. And it also makes it so that both parties' needs and desires and preferences are clearly communicated and taken into account. And in that way, whether it's with a person or a group of people, people can get what they need more effectively, and they can also free up energy, because instead of like going back and forth because you didn't express your boundary and you didn't say no, or you didn't say that doesn't work for me, we can't make an adjustment here. If you bottle it up, it probably will explode at some later time, or you'll just drift off and like leave and ghost because you didn't feel like you could fully show up for yourself and express what was going on. And then people's feelings get hurt. And so one of the things that building good, healthy, clear boundaries helps you do is it helps build trust between parties. Because when somebody doesn't really know where your boundary is, it's natural for people to test it. It's natural for people, like in a work situation, for example, it's that coworker who keeps pushing on you and making little digs or little comments because they don't really know, where the line is. And if you wait and you explode, it's disproportionate to the offense at hand. And it also creates clarity in your mind about like what's important to you, what's important to these other people. Having clear expectations, clear negotiations of needs is exactly what it means to have a healthy relationship with another person, with a job and the job expectations. And there's going to need to be check-ins and adjustments all along the way so that everybody can get at least some of what they need happening. Now, some things you got to have a hard line around. You got to know what your deal makers and what your deal breakers are. And I will make a video about that. But just talking generally about boundaries right now, this is why it's so important. And don't go it alone. If you struggle with this because maybe you've grown up in a household where there was substance abuse or somebody was going through some sort of illness, there can be some confusion about when and where you can set healthy boundaries, what a healthy boundary looks like, what to do if somebody doesn't hear what you say and blows right through your boundaries and you're trying to say them. And there are ways to say no clearly and assertively without being rude. That's something I struggle with because I run out of social energy, and at work somebody will ask me a question and I'll just say no. They'll just be like, does this come with this? And I'll just look at them and be like, no. And people have even said it back to me. They go, no. And then like we have this awkward stare, and I'm phasing out of that job because it's not aligned with my needs and priorities. And that's something that's really important too, is to know how to say no politely, have some strategies of what to say without saying sorry and over-explaining, because you don't want to over-explain all the time. And you want to be wary. I don't know if weary is the word, but I like listening to this Never Split the Difference by, I think it's Chris Voss. He was a hostage negotiator. And so he knows how to like, I'm so sorry, I'm this, and this, and you make it so dramatic and you apologize so that the other person will go easy on you because you've already gone so hard on yourself. That's fine, okay? If you're doing it consciously and you've got some outcome you're clear that you're going for, do that. And I also recommend the book. It's brilliant. But it's also important to listen to material like that, or the 42 Laws of Power by Robert Greene, so that you know when you're getting worked by people who are really good at the social game. When you're just codependent like me, and you're not really sure what you can set a boundary around, or if it's even okay, or and you just reflexively constantly apologize for things you did and didn't do, that's when you need to look at this. And it's really helpful to know what you value. And that means what's important to you what you're aiming for in life in general. Like, what are the most important things to you? And I was thinking about like, well, how does one even know what's important to them? Because some people don't get the opportunity, and they're told that they're selfish when they reflect on what's important to them. You know, or if you have somebody who's self-centered or displaying narcissistic traits, or is a full-blown narcissist, and I'm not saying go online and try to constantly diagnose somebody as a narcissist every 5 minutes. That's not helpful. I'm going to make a separate video about that. But really knowing what is important to me here. Because when you're trying to meet everybody else's needs, and there's certain personality types, and this is why I love personality psychology so much, because it provides a framework where you can really dial in to where you need to make some adjustments. Like INFJs, ISFJs, ESFJs, ENFJs. Like, we can struggle with knowing what we need and what is important to us, because we can become very concerned with a particular person and what they need, and very dialed into their demands, or maybe they're making some very dramatic emotional overtures and we're just like in fix-it mode. And when I use the term codependency, I mean it in the way that psychologists use it, where you don't see things from your own frame of reference of what's important to you and what you need. And instead, it's what other people think, feel, and are expressing determines how you view yourself and what you need. So you're not looking through your own lens, you're looking through the lens of other people. So people who have strong extroverted feeling in their cognitive stack, or a very strong obligation to perform social duty, sometimes forget how to prioritize what's important for them. And when you do that, what happens is, if you do it over and over unconsciously and in an unclarified way that's healthy and balanced, is that resentment builds. And then you get passive aggressive, or you get aggressive aggressive if it happens long enough. And that's not good for anybody. But if you can find ways of saying no clearly and respectfully, such as, unfortunately, I'm unable to do that. Can we make it another night? Or, this just doesn't really feel good to me. That's not what I'm going for. Or let's say you're dating and you really need to be texted a couple times throughout the day. You want to have a continuous amount of communication. I'm not like that. And honestly, if somebody came to me and said, communication is really important to me and I need somebody who wants to text throughout the day, I would have to say, I understand where you're coming from. I appreciate your need to communicate. However, that's a little too much for me. And that other person can say, well, this is what I'm going for, and this is what I'm looking for, and this is what I need to feel connected and close and happy and satisfied in my relationship. And then we can mutually decide, okay, well, maybe we don't move forward, or maybe we have a workaround where maybe I don't text you throughout the day so much, but we spend this quality time here. It helps everybody get more of what they need. And it also lets you know if, no, I'm not doing that. Thanks for playing. And don't say it in a sarcastic way, and don't express that in a sarcastic way. But if everybody can just be a little bit more honest and direct about what it is that they need and want, then everybody is generally happier. And also, there are some people who they will kick right through all of your boundaries, and I said no. And, one of the things that people do is they'll send lengthy text messages about how you can't treat them this way, or I've done a lot of that. I'm not going to stand for you treating me this way. And I've sent some, I can't even, Anyway, I think the last video I did was about having a sense of humor about your past. And yeah, if I wasn't laughing, I'd be crying. So, I didn't set healthy boundaries. And then I was all kinds of upset, and I would make these large declarations about what I would and would not tolerate. And it's just like, a simple conversation about what people need and what they want and whether or not they can give you that would have sufficed and saved me a lot of time and energy. And it's important to recognize that you have a right to set boundaries. And some people aren't going to like your boundaries. In fact, when I did my ayahuasca journey, that's one of the things that the plant medicine said to me very clearly. It was one of the clearest things that she said altogether. She said, it's okay to have boundaries, and it's okay for other people not to like those boundaries. And I always like to talk about that and remind people of that people aren't necessarily going to like it when you tell them no. And that's okay. But it's really important as a form of self-respect and self-care to have boundaries, because it protects your emotional, your mental, and even your physical well-being. And we can get involved with people who are not good for us on really any of those levels when we're not clear about what's important to us, and we don't have strategies for expressing that in a clear, non-passive aggressive, honest, healthy way. And then another thing that's important is that you stay consistent with those limits. I used to set boundaries. I used to break up with people, and then feel sad, and they would feel sad, and then I would feel like I need to go comfort them, but in a way I was kind of going back on my boundary. If you break up with somebody, you are no longer the person that is able to comfort them about your breakup. And so that's just a side note there. But also stay consistent with the boundary. And kids, if you have family, like, children need boundaries. Children need structure. When you don't have a consistent timeout strategy, then you have a tendency to yell or raise your voice or lose your cool at not a good time, and it can be very intense. And so having clear boundaries, having clear expectations, clear consequences, and staying consistent helps the child feel safe. So I'm not the nanny, but she's got some great techniques on that. I think her timeout, I don't even know if that still airs, but I just think that that's so brilliant and so important to have that clarity. And so that you can enforce those boundaries with kindness and respect for the other person and their emotional experience, whether they're your kid or they're your boss or they're your coworker, your partner, or your best friend. When you're clear and you're honest, it just makes it easier, and you can show up more in an empathic, caring way, but also not get so lost in their perspective that you can't hold your own. And also, it allows you to build up a tolerance for feeling kind of uncomfortable. Because let's be real, let's say you're on a road trip with a friend and they keep bringing up a topic that you don't like. I don't know, this is just a random example, I don't know why this is coming to mind. And you want to set a boundary around it. You can be like, hey, I know this is important to you. I know you want to talk about this, but I don't want to talk about this on this trip. I really wanted to make this a fun time that we, go explore this new area. I don't want to keep rehashing the past about this. You set the boundary. The friend kind of feels awkward. There's kind of like some tension in the car. It's good to sit with that intention instead of vacillating and going back on the boundary. And I'm sorry. No, it's okay. You can talk about it. It's fine, And this is also really important when you set like really important boundaries, like somebody has crossed the line. It is important to maintain that. That's something that if you don't do, you hurt people. So if you say, hey, this is a no, it never needs to happen again. And then they test it, because some people are born testers, like an ENTP, they're going to test some shit. Like even an STJ, ESTJ, they're going to push, and people do that. And you may have an unruly child that does that. But when you don't maintain the boundary, people can get hurt emotionally, physically. It's really important. So this is something I would love to work with you on. If you're having trouble sifting, sorting through what's yours, what's theirs, how do you move forward? How do you have that conversation? I'm never going to tell you as a coach what to do. I don't do that. I don't give advice. In another video, I'm going to make a list of the core principles that guide my practice. But I will just say I don't tell my clients what to do. We explore possibilities. What would you think about that? It's a lot of using the Socratic method to explore how you feel and how you're going to move forward. But I don't tell you what to do. But I will follow up with you and see how that boundary conversation went. See how you're feeling about holding the boundary. See how that person reacted. Are they consistently disrespecting your boundaries, crossing your boundaries? Do you need to create some distance? Do you need to develop more compassion towards their perspective, where it's a mutual conversation where you're both setting boundaries? What does that look like? So I would love to help you explore that in coaching, and a link to have an appointment and to work together will be in the description box. But again, I will never solicit you for any of my services, but I do hope to connect with you. And I thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and we will touch base soon. All right, take care. Bye.